Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, and a new podcast host called Newt's World is now available for download, which is a long way from Wayne's World. But Mr. Speaker, thank you for your time and good morning to you. I want to share with you and our viewers a Wall Street Journal poll that found the approval rating for the president ticked up 3 points from 43% in January up to 46% now. In addition, on that Wall Street Journal poll, it says 41% would vote for the president if the election were held today. Well, now, Democrats have this White House in their crosshairs. There you see the polling tick away. Can they draw blood or not, Mr. Speaker?
Well, they may draw some blood, but the problem they've got is every time they go to a new topic, a new argument, a new charge, it looks more and more phony. I noticed over the weekend a poll that said only 35% of the country thought that Cohen was a believable witness. Well, I mean, what this does is it absorbs, the Democrats right now are having all their energy absorbed by two things: Donald Trump, who they hate, and the rise of their left-wing activists. And that means they have no space left to communicate a winning Democratic Party message for 2020. And I think that in that sense, and we had some of this problem, frankly, 97, 98 dealing with Bill Clinton, because after a while people render a judgment. They're not going to think this is impeachable. They're going to come to think it's all political, and they're going to come to think that it's all destructive of the country. And I think that's where they made a mistake last week with Cohen. When you put a proven, convicted liar on national television at the same moment that the President of the United States is negotiating over nuclear weapons in North Korea, you give the country a vision of a party that's almost destructive of America for their own partisan reasons. And I think Nadler is going to get himself in the same problem. I watched us make that mistake, and I will tell you, I think that Nancy Pelosi is doing a better job of cautioning them to go slow than I did in 97, 98.
Well, very interesting. There'll be a lot of reflection on that going forward, too, looking back 20 years as well. Meanwhile, on Saturday, 2 hours and 20 minutes at CPAC, I don't think he had a teleprompter or a single note. Here's a sample of what we heard on Saturday. Watch here.
We will always defend America's borders.
We believe in the American dream, not in the socialist nightmare. Democrat lawmakers have totally abandoned the American mainstream. They're embracing open borders, socialism, and extreme late-term abortion. But perhaps nothing is more extreme than the Democrats' plan to completely take over American energy.
Some of that sounds like it was on a teleprompter. Regardless, it sounds like a campaign speech. What did you make of the case that he made on Saturday, sir?
Well, first of all, when I heard that it was, I think, 2 hours and 18 minutes, my first thought was, that's a little bit long. But I realized two things. I ran into a bunch of folks Sunday who were at the speech, loved it, did not think it was a minute too long, and they were in kind of a rock concert model. I mean, they loved being with him, and they loved him rolling. And I think that Trump walked in that room. He gets tired of being attacked by 90% of the news media, and he gets tired of the Democrats being so nasty. He walks in a room. He senses the adulation. They're all pumped up. He did have a text. I know he had a prepared speech. He thinks, oh, I could give the prepared speech, or why don't we have fun together? The amount of energy he will gain out of Saturday, and this is what the Democrats have to remember. In the end, whoever they nominate has to be able to be on the stage with Donald J. Trump, who is maybe the greatest reality TV performer of our lifetime. And he just showed them again Saturday what he's going to be like. He's going to be on offense. He's going to be knowledgeable. He will have honed every single line that works. And he will go after them aggressively every single day.
Well, that's going to be interesting
to
watch.
And I thought Saturday was a very interesting preview of what 2020 will be like.
Thank you for your time today. Newt's World's the new podcast.
Great to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Come back real soon, okay? Thank you. Newt Gingrich there in Washington.
We will be issuing document requests to over 60 different people and individuals from the White House to the Department of Justice, Donald Trump Jr., Alan Weisselberg, to begin the investigations, to present the case to American people about obstruction of justice, corruption, and abuse of power.
I cooperate all the time with everybody. And you know the beautiful thing? No collusion. It's all a hoax. You're going to learn about that as you grow older. It's a political hoax.
Nadler is setting the framework now that the Democrats are not to believe the Mueller report. They're now saying we have to do our own investigation.
Well, it's 81 individuals, agencies, entities tied to President Trump received a flurry of letters demanding documents today as a part of these increasing Democratic probes. Take a look at some of them. 25 of the 81 individuals getting these letters today from the Judiciary Committee under Democrat control. The ranking member on that committee, Doug Collins, issued a statement. We don't even know what the Mueller report says, but Democrats are already hedging their bets after recklessly prejudging the president for obstruction. Chairman Nadler is pursuing evidence to back up his conclusion because, as he admits, we don't have the facts yet. We'll start there with the news of the day. Let's bring in our panel. Chris Stirewalt is politics editor here at Fox News. Katie Pavlich is news editor at townhall.com. And Jim Messina, Democratic strategist and CEO of the Messina Group. Okay, Jim, when you listened to Nadler over the weekend on the Sunday shows, and he said, I've reached the conclusion that the president has obstructed justice. And then the follow-up is, well, why not move forward with impeachment now? And he says, well, we have to lay out the case to the American people. What do you think of that? Is it cart before the horse?
Look, I think it's smart. Democrats are being very careful politically. They've learned some lessons from the Republicans in the 90s when they impeached President Clinton. They don't want to go down that road yet. They want to build a very compelling case. This is not surprising. I was the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for President Obama when the Republicans took over the House. The very first day, I got a bunch of these same letters and same lawyers calling me saying, we're going to look into this stuff. It's the balance of power, and the House is going to look very deeply at this stuff, and they should. 34 members of President Trump's campaign or a close circle have been indicted, and we should look at it.
Katie.
Well, they should have learned some lessons about impeachment, but it seems like the ball has been moved completely off of the field when it comes to what Democrats have acted like they want to know. First, it was they wanted to know all about Russian collusion, which is why they supported the Mueller probe. And then they criticized anyone who dared to go after or question the credibility of Robert Mueller and the people who had working with him. In fact, we haven't heard calls for a while about passing legislation to protect the special counsel investigation now that Democrats don't seem to be getting what they want when it comes to information that they can use for impeachment. There is a proper role for Congress to play when it comes to oversight. However, this is not about investigating government scandals like Operation Fast and Furious or the IRS targeting conservatives. This is about going after President Trump personally and using Congress and House committees with subpoenas to open up a treasure trove of opposition research for 2020 candidates. And the truth is that impeachment might be good in the primary, but it's not going to be good in a general election.
And that's really the question, because it is a political process. I mean, this is not a criminal endeavor. It's a political process. If you look at the latest NBC Wall Street Journal poll on the president's job performance, it's actually ticked up from January from 43 to 46%, disapproval 52, Chris. And is there a risk-reward moment here for Democrats where they have to decide, do we go down this road fully, or do we look to make our mark legislatively?
Well, don't underappreciate the degree to which avoiding another government shutdown worked for Trump's favor. And don't also underappreciate the degree to which having the focus on Democrats, whether they be in Virginia or whether it be the Green New Deal, or it has not been a run of good weeks for Democrats in terms of the narrative. I would say keep a prayer and keep some sympathy for Jerry Nadler. He's a serious person trying to do a serious job, but he has on his committee, and he has among the Democratic conference, people who want to be much more radical and much more aggressive than he is. So he's riding a tiger here. He needs to show his members, yep, I'm on the case, we're being diligent, we're being aggressive, but he wants to keep them at bay so that they don't do what Katie's talking about, where you end up, Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Nadler do not want to impeach Donald Trump unless they absolutely have to. They'd rather just beat him in 2020.
All right, here's Jared Nadler on that very question, on the Mueller investigation.
Crimes and impeachable offenses are two different things. There can be crimes that are not impeachable offenses and impeachable offenses that are not crimes. They're just two different tests. But we have to lay out for the American people, and we can't depend on the Mueller investigation for this. The Mueller investigation, number one, we don't know when it's ending, despite lots of rumors. Number two, it's focused on specific crimes.
Does it sound to you, Jim, that they have a feeling that Mueller's not going to deliver what they want it to deliver?
Look, I think it's interesting. Everyone's already on both sides deciding what the Mueller report is going to say.
Before we see it.
And it hasn't even been out. Why don't we all just sit back, let the Mueller report come out, and then figure out what to do next? And I think Nadler's right that the obstruction stuff happened post-Mueller. It's not in the Mueller report. It's a different set of questions that they're going to look at. But let's wait for Mueller to come here.
Well, we say that all the time on the panel. We don't know what we don't know. We're going to wait and see.
Right.
And it could happen soon, but we've not put a date on it. There are other things going on. The Southern District of New York. There are other investigations. And we point that out as well, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty that we do not know, and Republicans or Democrats should not decide what they think is going to be in the Mueller probe. But the problem for Democrats is they have put everything on this. We've been hearing about Russian collusion for months, that there was evidence of this, which is why Robert Mueller had to be protected. Of course, that's exactly what he's investigating, collusion. The fact is that Robert Mueller actually isn't investigating collusion because collusion isn't a crime under the statutes that he's investigating.
Technically,
if you look,
it'd be conspiracy.
Conspiracy, but people are using the word collusion in the legal sense. The terms very much matter. When it comes to the subpoenas that are being issued, it's not about corruption in the government and corruption in Washington, D.C. These are about personal entities of the president. They want his tax returns. They want to go after Ivanka Trump. They want to go after Donald Trump Jr. They are going into every single personal issue that the president may have that they can use on the campaign trail against him to beat him in 2020. So when it comes to that line, it's going to be interesting to see how much Democrats can get done legislatively when all of their time is being spent investigating personal finances of a president that they simply don't like.
There are some investigations, like the emoluments clause and whether the president is using his office in some way, shape, or form to make money, where the two intersect, the personal and the president currently. I want to turn quickly to the emergency declaration. Rand Paul coming out saying he's going to vote against this resolution. He's going to vote for the resolution that says there should not be a national emergency declaration by the president.
I think it's easy to argue that this emergency order, this executive order, goes against the will of Congress. Not all Congress, but the majority of Congress that passed the appropriation bill. I spoke to the president last night, and we had a good discussion. He says he understands where I'm coming from, and he didn't tell me we would never play golf again, so I don't know. It isn't about President Trump. It's about the division of power for me.
And there are 4 Republicans now saying that they are against the president saying there should be an emergency declaration on the border. The problem here for them and for Democrats who support this measure is that the president's already threatened to veto it, and they're just not going to have 67 votes in the Senate.
Well, first of all, sweet vest, Rand Paul.
Nice vest.
Very solid. But number 2, this matters in a legal sense because as you go to court, the president asked 5 times Congress, give me the money for the thing that I want. 5 times Congress said no. And then they're going to come back and say, and we specifically denounce the activity that you're taking. Now, look, he's going to veto it and he's going to go on ahead. But as the courts look at this matter, it's not going to be ambiguous what Congress thinks about the president's decision here. The other thing is this is a first. This will be the first time that Republicans in Congress have given Trump the yank. They've said, absolutely not, we're not going to do it. That 5 will be 10, I'm sure, by the time they're done. Mitt Romney, Ben Sass, Mike Lee, and others, I'm sure, who stand up for separation of powers. Again, this isn't about the issue. It's not about what you think. It's about the division of powers.